the most effective tool I learned in my life is the fuck off therapy. It is not anger, it is the way we channel our anger with assertivity and determination in the right direction. Because to feel anger is very healthy, and in this video I explain you how to do it and how to channel in the proper way. I'm Valerio Verrera and this is Tarology Academy. If you want support to transform your life, drop me a message because there is the new path, the archetypical transformative tarological coaching, which is a way to develop your life, to get the right direction and to get all the energy you need with the right focus to bring transformation using the archetypical power of traditional tarots. How many times in my life I heard my parents saying, Valerio, don't be angry. And for very, very long time, I thought that anger was something bad, something that I should avoid, and I was judging people which were manifesting their anger. But despite of that, many times I found myself having explosions of anger. I found myself having moments in which something triggered and there was this boom, this atomic bomb of anger popping up. And I tried to control it, but it was not easy at all. And after some times, when I started to be a bit more aware of myself, I realized also a series of behaviors which I never noticed before, in which I was giving like good advice, in which I was giving like nice comments, and then people was replying with anger to me. They were getting angry at me because I was saying something to them. And what I realized is that this anger actually was not their anger, it was my anger. Because anger, if we do not contact it and if we don't channel it in a proper way, it never disappears and goes somewhere in a hidden way. So sometimes good advice is a good suggestion. It's just a way to put a finger in a wound of somebody in order them to feel this pain and channel in this way our anger. But when we are aware of that and we become conscious of our anger, we can actually channel in a much more useful way. Yeah, because anger is useful, is a very useful emotion. And first of all, we need to understand where anger comes from. Anger is the natural reaction to an invasion. The invasion can be physical, somebody is slapping me, or it can be also emotional or psychological. Every time that somebody else make me do something that I don't want to do, or denies my possibility to do something that I really want to do. In all these cases, anger comes up. There is the creation of anger. And actually anger, when we think at the ancient times, is this energy that activates inside of ourselves to protect ourselves, to make us fight back. When somebody is attacking us and we are like smaller and weaker, anger is this extra power, this boost that we can have to fight back. And we can imagine like sometimes small animal can really defeat much bigger ones when they can activate this special power inside of themselves. Anger is our special power. And this special power, it's also the special power which protects us from being manipulated and being controlled by others. And here we understand why this power is not welcome in our society. Because somebody in deep contact with his or her anger will never be manipulated, will never do something that he or she doesn't want to do just because somebody else more powerful want to impose it on him or her. And this is the key. And this is the key why in our society anger is considered something so bad. Since we are children, we are socialized to repress our anger, to push it down, to make it disappear somewhere, and most of all, never send this anger back to the people who are invading us. The consequence of that is actually very bad, not just for our direct relationship, but also for the society in general. Because as we said, anger never goes away. Anger always goes somewhere. And if I receive an invasion and I develop anger and I don't use this power against the invader, what I do is to channel this anger somewhere else. And somewhere else usually is somebody who is weaker than me. The classical example is the father who has some struggle at work and then comes back home and channel his anger, like beating the children or the wife. Also, when we think about bullies at school, all these children which attack other smaller children, this is actually the manifestation of this process. These children, the bullies, actually are children which are invaded probably by parents, by somebody else bigger than them in their environment, and then they go out, and because they can't send this anger back to the other person who has power over them, then they take their power, they take somebody smaller, and they channel this anger on them. And actually the smaller one, the weakest one, is the one who suffers the most of it. This process is extremely bad, and at the collective level is so bad that it is actually what creates war. Because this anger, which is produced and shared and spread and grows up and up and up, is what at the end generates the collective manifestation of war. So we understand how bad management of anger can be and what is its impact on society. But how can we break this circle? Well, we must start from ourselves. We cannot change anything outside, we can change inside. And we can work on two levels. The first level is about being in contact with our anger in the very moment that it appears. If in my life I experience a situation in which I feel anger, somebody is invading me, maybe somebody is talking in a wrong way with me, somebody is doing something that I do feel invaded, I feel it's not good, and I feel anger. Instead of being polite and being down, keeping this anger for me, I just come out with politeness and assertivity, and I establish my boundaries. In this way, I start to bring anger and use anger in the very moment. So I don't keep it in, because if I put it in, then somewhere it will go in a way that maybe I don't want. But I use it to establish immediately my boundaries in a polite way. The important thing is to be aware of how, because I must do it in a polite and assertive way, but I should avoid any aggression and any violence in my way of talking or in my way of acting. But if I am assertive, gentle, polite, but strong, determined in my movement, then it is very useful, and my anger becomes a way to keep my boundaries safe and protected. And in this way, I will stop feeding myself with anger, and I will not keep this bowl of anger growing inside of me, but instead I will just let the anger where it belongs. The second way to manage my anger is a bit more complex, and it is a way which implies to map, to become very, very aware of where, so not just reacting in the very moment, but be aware of which moment, which situation, where is anger in my life. Journaling can be very useful for that. You can write down every time where you feel anger in your life, where you have this kind of movement, emotional movements in your life. And these can be very useful because you will start to recognize some patterns, and you will see that there are some things that triggers you more and some things that triggers you less. And then there you will realize that some things that triggers you maybe a lot do not trigger somebody else. Maybe you are triggered and another friend in the very same situation is not. And when this happens, is great because you have a very special point. You know that this point is like, is the point where you have your own pattern of anger. And there you can go deeper. When you realize, okay, I have something that triggers me a lot, is a subjective thing, is a pattern of triggering which is very personal. It means that there is an experience which I did in my life, maybe some traumatic events or some patterns of behavior of my parents or in my family when I was a kid. And those experiences activated my reaction. And my reaction today is just the projection of something that came before. And when I realize that, I can look in all the situations in my childhood, in my past, in which I felt this kind of anger, and I can look who activated. And then I realize who was the trigger, who was the original invader. And then I can send back all this anger to the person to which belongs. And here starts the fuck off therapy. Of course, I don't do it with the actual person now. If the person who was invading me was my mother, I don't go to my mother now that he's an old person, or maybe he's or she's already dead, and scream fuck off to her. But what I do is to contact, get in touch, and I can use something symbolic like a pillow, a photograph or something, and I can channel my anger there. And I can say everything that I never allowed myself to say, and I can do it there, I can throw it out, I can put it out with all my energy, with all my anger, with all the things that I have inside, and I can blow out, so all the energy that I was using to keep this anger at bay, all of a sudden becomes available. This energy goes out, is moving outside, and it is something that can be used in a very, very, very good way. Of course, I suggest to have the support of a professional therapist in that, because it's very easier. It's easier if you have somebody helping you, giving you a mirror and supporting you in this process. But the effect is wow. It's really, really good. It's top, the best that you can have to channel and heal. Then, of course, we can go and reprogram the trigger and the experience, bringing healing, bringing understanding in that, and letting the past go. And in this way, there will not be the trigger anymore, so anger will not pop up. And also the situation that you live today, that before was triggering so much anger, then it will not be so producing anger. If you want then support in that, this archetypical, transformative, tarological coaching can be very useful for that. In case you are interested to get to know more about it, just drop me a message. I hope you enjoyed this video, you find it useful, because it's like a guide to help you live better your life. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe the channel, click on the notification bell so you don't lose any video that I publish every week here on the channel, and thanks you for watching.